guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Alana. Please press that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you'd like to see more. So for today's video, I'm going to do a little update video. This video is going to be talking about agoraphobia and how I have kind of overcome it and worked on it a lot. And just like my progress, I have a video that I made about a year ago, kind of just documenting, it was just like a very short video documenting me doing a therapy like activity on my own, and something I'd been working on with my therapy, which was exposure therapy. And I made a video and I filmed myself doing it to show what it was like to live with, you know, agoraphobia, which is a mental illness, which I'm going to be going into detail about what it is and everything. But a lot of people have commented on that video saying that they struggle with it, or just like wanting to know more about it. So I thought that I would do this second video, and I will link the other one in the iCard now, and I'll also link it down below and at the end of the video. So if you're new to my channel, I actually have quite a few mental illnesses and mental health diagnoses, but today I'm going to be talking about agoraphobia. So agoraphobia is just in short, to give a brief overview, agoraphobia is a anxiety disorder, and I'm diagnosed with agoraphobia with panic disorder. So often basically it just means that you get panic attacks. There are two separate diagnoses, but normally if you have agoraphobia you get panic attacks, which is why diagnosed with panic disorder as well. So agoraphobia is an anxiety disorder. Basically it's based around having a very extreme anxiety about being in either closed or wide open spaces. So for example, this could be going to the cinema. The anxiety is really based around feeling trapped in a situation, this intense overriding fear of feeling of the thought of being trapped in a situation, or being kind of like with social anxiety, where you are very scared that you're going to embarrass yourself, and that you're not going to be, no one's going to be able to help you, and that you're going to embarrass yourself and you're going to be stuck in the situation. So for me, the whole idea of feeling trapped in an anxiety provoking situation, or it's also the fear of having panic attacks, because you have panic attacks, and so then your brain starts to equate certain places or situations as you know, it triggers panic attacks because your brain starts to think that they're dangerous, and it sends your body into full-on panic. So this is often very like illogical, but your body and your mind think that you're in danger, so it sends all the signals to say that you're in danger, which is why you get the panic attacks. So I have been struggling with this off and on since I was a teenager, but when I was about 18 and I left school and I had to get a job, probably around the age of 17, so when I was finishing school, it started to get a lot worse, and then when I was 18, it really started to kind of progress into like quite intense agoraphobia. Agoraphobia, often people think that people are completely housebound when you have this. That is not always the case. There's different levels of it. For me, at some points in my life, I have been basically housebound. And I think a lot of people, including myself, we have kind of like safe zones or safe areas or safe people that we will only go to, and we will not be able to go anywhere else. So yeah, it started getting a lot worse when I was older, and I also have social anxiety and stuff, and so that would make it worse as well. But yeah, so that's what agoraphobia is. Some of the situations that trigger my agoraphobia a lot more will be things like cinemas. For instance, I've only just recently gone to the cinema. I have not been to the cinema for years. Like, I have my family would all go to see a movie and I wouldn't go. Like, I'd just stay at home because my anxiety would be feeling, you know, like when you go to a cinema, for instance, you're kind of trapped in there in a sense. Like, I felt like I was trapped and it would give me really bad anxiety. Another thing is public transport, so any type of public transport, which I don't use where I live because I live in a small town and I have a car. But for instance, when we went on holidays to like Brisbane or we went to Melbourne or whatever it was, obviously everyone used the public transport and we would use it. And even with my parents and other people, basically all I had to do was just get on the tram or get on the bus. I would literally be so anxious, and it was just so hard for me. So that's very common. Things like having to leave the house. The thing that has caused me the most problems with agoraphobia is working, and I'll move on to this. So I have not been employed for about 2 years, and this is because of, I have other mental health problems, but the main reason is because I have agoraphobia, because if you can't leave the house to get to your job and you're having panic attacks at your work, that is not going to work. So basically I had to stop working because every time I would have a shift, I would be panicking. I wouldn't get any sleep. I would be dreading work, and it's just like this intense fear of having to leave the house because I knew that I was going to be trapped at work, unable to leave the anxiety provoking situation, and not able to get out of that because it's like a 4 or 5 hour shift, or sometimes up to 8 hour shift. And I was only working maybe no more than 15 hours a week at the time, probably like 12 to 15, and I was not coping. This is from the age of about 18 until I think I worked when I was 18 and I was 19, so I'm now almost 22. So yeah, that went on, and it has been going on for a long time. And yeah, I have had periods where I've been basically completely housebound and haven't seen anyone. I haven't gone anywhere. I have often had to leave many situations because I've had panic attacks and just couldn't cope. Or I wouldn't go anywhere unless my mum would go with me. So at some points it'd be like I wouldn't go anywhere unless my mum would be there to go with me because she was like a safe person, or it was like one of my close friends. Then I would be okay if it was like a best friend. But yeah, so it makes, obviously, as you can imagine, it makes your life very difficult because you need to be able to go to appointments and you need to get food and, you know, things like that. And so yeah, but in this video we are going to be talking about how you can actually start to work on this disorder, and if you have it, and how to overcome it. I have in no means completely overcome it. I still do struggle with it, but nowhere near as bad as what I was a year ago. So I'm going to share some tips and some ways that I have, you know, kind of gotten over it in a way. I still do struggle with it, but at a lot less. It kind of inconveniences my life a lot less. So I'm going to say the first thing that has really helped me would be medication. So because my anxiety was so extreme, medication for me has really helped. So for me, I'm going to name the medication, but everyone is going to react differently. But personally for me, I'm on quite a few medications, but for my anxiety, venlafaxine and quetiapine, which is antipsychotic, venlafaxine is a antidepressant, have been the two medications that have helped my anxiety majorly, have made such a big difference, because I no longer have as frequent panic attacks because I was having them quite regularly, and going on medication has helped physiologically, like my body calm down, so my body isn't on constant overdrive. So this has really helped. So medication has helped me. Number 2 is doing CBT therapy, and in particular using exposure therapy. So this is where you work with like a psychologist or a mental health professional, and you talk about the situations that provoke your anxiety or your anxiety attacks. So for me, shopping centers are a really big trigger. Even now, I tend to avoid shopping centers still. And this is the other problem with agoraphobia, is that because you get so anxious and panicked by certain places or things, you start to avoid it. So I would avoid going to work. I would cancel work, then I just stopped working altogether, or I would just not go to the shops ever, and over time your safe bubble becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, and then you're confined to your house because everything becomes scary. And I think the more you avoid the anxiety situations, the more you're reinforcing in your brain that there is something to be scared of and that it is a dangerous situation. So when you do exposure therapy, you work on talking. First of all, you start off very small. So for me, I had a goal. We set some goals. So one of my goals was I wanted to be able to go to this kind of like park beach area that was in where I live, and I really wanted to be able to go there and sit on my own. And to be honest, I still haven't completely managed to do this, but what we did was, at the time, we were like, okay, well, what's something that's manageable? So first of all, we talked about what do you feel? So even thinking about it, even now, thinking about doing that makes me feel incredibly anxious, and I can feel that I start to panic, like even now. So then you think about, okay, well, these feelings are starting to come up. So we talk about the feelings, and then we think about what's going to help me with managing these feelings. So apart from medication, things like sensory items can be really helpful. So grounding techniques such as what can I see, what can I hear, what can I smell. So I also think that apart from setting goals, you need to also, which you probably do in therapy, it's called plan ahead. Plan ahead is something that I think I actually learned in DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. And this is where you rate your anxiety for a particular situation that you know is coming up. So for instance, going to work or going to my work placement. Then you go through all of the thoughts that are in your head and you write them out, or you talk about it with your psychologist or whoever. Then you think about, okay, well, logically, what out of 10, how much do you think this is going to happen? So say, for instance, I'm worried that if I go to the shop, I'm going to, well, I don't know, not be able to find something, okay? So I can't find something in a shop, or I can't reach something, because I'm like 5'2". I can't reach many things. So sometimes I have to ask people to get stuff off a shelf for me, like someone who works there. So this happened to me the other day, actually. And I had to ask this girl to get this thing down for me. And I walked around the shop 4 times before I was able to ask her to get the down, because I was so anxious. But what you do is, it's like plan ahead. So you go, okay, so yeah, I may need to ask somebody to get this product down for me, or to help me find something. So you plan ahead and you go, okay, what am I gonna say? This can be the same for like, say you're going to go to the cinema and you know that cinemas give you anxiety. So you can be like, okay, well, I'm going to plan ahead. So I'm going to sit down and think, okay, what do I need when I'm going to go to the cinema to make myself feel better? Okay, I'm going to bring a sensory item, and I'm going to, order my tickets online so I can go on the shorter line or whatever, right? Or I'm going to go with a friend. Well, normally you go to the cinema with other people, but so you're going to go with somebody. What I mean by that is, like, you're going to go with somebody who you actually trust. Like, you're not just don't go with somebody who doesn't know how to help you through what you're going through. That's what I'm trying to say. So, get to the cinema and then be like, okay, so do I know where to park? Do I know where the car park is? If you don't know, I would Google it beforehand on Google Maps, and I would go and look. This is what I do before I have to go to new situations, and I will look at Google Maps, and I will even drive to the place before my appointment on a different day when I'm not stressed and I have nothing planned, and I'll go there and I'll figure out how to get there. Number 2, I'll figure out where I need to park, where the door is, where the entrance is, and I will check I have everything I need. That can be whether you're going to the cinema, whether you're going to the appointments, whatever it is. This way, you're reducing the anxiety of all these other situations of, but what if I don't know where to park? And what if I can't get there on time? And what if I get lost? And all of these things that make you anxious. You're trying to kind of minimize the anxiety surrounding that of the unknown. So that's what I used to do, and it helped me so much. So plan ahead, that's what it's called. You can find, if you just type in DBT, cope ahead, plan ahead, CBT online, it will come up with a lot of these skills, and I might try to link some resources down below as well. Making sure that you set realistic and attainable goals. So for instance, we're not just going to throw me in the deep end and say, okay, go for a kilometer walk on your own at this place. No, because I can't even get out the car. We have to first of all think about how we're going to get out the house. So what I would do is I would tell myself, okay, I'm going to drive to this place, takes about 15, maybe 20 minutes, and then I'm going to sit in my car and I'm going to sit there for 10 minutes. That's it. I'm going to go on my own, sit there for 10 minutes in my car. So I'm going to do that, and then you do that a few times, and then once the anxiety starts to half, you know, kind of go, say it's at a 10 and then it comes to a 5. And then you think, okay, so next time I'm going to go and I'm going to try to get out of the car for like 2 minutes. And I'm going to sit in front of my car. Like, I'll park and sit directly in front of my car. And it'll probably look silly because I'm sitting right in front of my car, but I'm going to sit there. And I would set a timer for 2 minutes on my phone. And I would sit there and I would use my strategies, and I'd bring like a book, for instance, or I'd bring something with me as a distraction, and I would sit there and try my best and, you know, try to just work through the anxiety, you know. And then I might be on this stage and be on that step for a long time, you know, and then the next step would be, okay, I'm going to sit a bit further away from my car for 5 minutes and see how I feel. And if I felt like, oh, you know, I did that, I'm okay, I might sit there for another 5 minutes. So it's kind of like, you know, and eventually you can work your way up to, okay, I'm going to go for a walk, and I'm going to walk a couple meters from my car, and all that type of thing. So that's really what it is. Same with the shops, you know, I do the same thing. I'd go, okay, I'm going to go to the shop and I'm only going to stay for 10 minutes. Or I'm going to go sit down. For instance, I couldn't go to the shop and just go sit at a cafe on my own. So I'd be like, if that's something I really would like to do, I'm going to go and I'm going to, you know, work on that. So setting attainable and small goals and having a support person. So at first you may need to take somebody else with you to do these things. But over time, eventually you want to build up the resilience that it's okay and that you're safe and that you don't need to panic and that you're not in danger. So that really helped. And to be honest, sometimes it just depends on how I'm feeling in the day. Sometimes I can do these things fine, and sometimes it's more of a struggle. But the point is that at this point in my life now, I'm not completely housebound anymore, because that is a pretty miserable life, to be honest. And it's incredibly lonely, and then you get extremely depressed because you're not seeing people. So you're not interacting with the outside world, you're not seeing people, you can't work, you have no money. So this caused me a lot of problems and really affected a lot of my other mental health conditions that I have as well. You know, so yeah, but I would say also another thing that can be really helpful if you can get access to this is getting a support worker. If you live in Australia, there's things like the NDIS, National Disability Scheme. There are a lot of organizations that have support workers that you can get onto, you know, through the government. I would say for me, sensory items really helped, and medication has helped as well. I don't take medication, like I take medication regularly, but I would use PRN, so I would take extra medication in these scenarios to help me, especially in a social. So I would take extra quetiapine because that's what I was allowed to do because my psychiatrist would prescribe that. But you know, now I don't really take medication extra unless I feel like I am right on the, you know, I'm gonna have a panic attack and I've tried using my sensory items, I've tried telling somebody who's with me and it's not, you know, I'm not calming down, then I'll take the medication. But nowadays I do try to kind of work through it without that because I'm able to, you know, yeah. And so there are a couple of things, but I would say exposure therapy, as much as it's horrible, but you really have to just set small goals and work on it like that. But yeah, because I've been able to kind of get through a lot of that anxiety about leaving the house, like I've been able to start making friends I have a lot more friends, and I've been able to, I did 2 work placements, which was massive for me because I was so anxious. And to be honest, did I wake up every day of those work placements dreading it, almost crying, not wanting to go? Yes. Did I spend the whole day counting the hours to when I could leave? Yeah, to be honest, I did. But I did it, and I was able to do it, and I didn't leave early and come home crying. So even though I still dreaded it and it still gave me lots of anxiety, you know, it was something I was still able to achieve, and I still did it. So, you know, it's not saying that it's going to be easy or that the anxiety is going to magically go away. Sometimes you just have to do it scared, because if you don't take that first few steps, you're just going to be stuck at home forever. Like, you have to really want it. You have to try your best. And it's okay if it doesn't work some days, because some days, you know, I try to go out. Like the other day I had to go to the shops and I wanted to look for something, and I went to the one shop and I looked and I bought something, and I came back out and I was like, okay, I just need to go home because I am getting really panicked right now, and just today is not the day. I've got vulnerability factors that are coming into play and I'm not feeling well, so I need to go home. And I went home and it was okay. I haven't returned to work, but I have been looking at works. So that is a massive step. Even just talking about looking for work and actually going to the job agency and asking what are my options, that was massive for me, because I didn't even want to do that up until a couple months ago, because even the thought, and even now to be honest, the thought of having a job still terrifies me. But you can't just not do this stuff and keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, because the more you put it off, the more the anxiety is going to get stronger and stronger, because you're literally, like, in your brain you have neural pathways, and those pathways are just getting dug deeper and deeper the more you you know, avoid. So that's kind of like what I've been doing. I still struggle with it, but it is so much better, and I wouldn't say I'm cured of it, but I'm gonna link another video that explains what agoraphobia is. This girl in New Zealand, I watched this video and it is the most relatable thing, and it's a really good video. So I'm gonna link it down below, because I thought this video was so good. It's really good, and the girl's really cool. She has like colored hair and everything. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave it down below. Like I said, medication, sensory items, and that includes grounding techniques, and doing therapy, like specifically CBT, you know, like exposure therapy, and having a support person like my mom or somebody help me, and you know, a psychologist, has basically been what I've been working on. And this has taken me over a year of actively working on it. I've been working on this issue for a year, and I'm still only just getting to the point where I'm able to actually, you know, go out and do the things that I need to do to be able to function. So I would encourage you guys, if you're struggling with this, I really relate, and I'm sorry because it's so hard, but you can do it. And as long as you have a go, that's all that you can expect of yourself, you know. And I really hope that this is something that you can work on and overcome, and that you can get the right support and the right access to help, because it really makes a difference. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. And if you want to see any of my other mental health videos, I have a lot of videos that I'll link in a playlist, and I'd love for you to check them out. If you want me to make any other videos, leave the comment down below and I'll get back to you. See ya!